Crystia!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. I know we keep talking about the border, but Danielle Smith seems to be the only provincial premier or politician in Canada that actually seems to care about the future of Canada and its negotiating power with the United States. Now, today, we're not going to talk about doom and gloom. We're not going to talk about Justin Trudeau. We're not going to talk about Mark Carney's three-ring circus that's coming to Canada. I want to talk about Danielle absolutely destroying Vassy on live television. Now, I have once said that I enjoy Vassy when she seems to put partisan politics aside, when she does her actual job. She usually asks the tough questions. However, if you've ever been more concerned about whether or not your media is bought and paid for, Vassy makes this interview so hard to listen to. Anytime she sits down with Danielle Smith, the claws are out. I think maybe she's jealous that there's another woman in Canada getting more attention than she is. I don't know what's going on here, but I want to highlight some points of the fear-mongering that Vassy tries to put on Danielle Smith before Danielle Smith absolutely slaps her across the face, puts her back in her place. Note before we get into this, ladies and gentlemen, it is a little hard to listen to with Vassy. Woke just pouring out here. Let's take a listen to this interview.
I think we've talked before about not to take away anything from obviously the poisonous supply and the impact it's had on both Canadians and Americans' lives. But the data from border authorities in the U.S. clearly shows that our border, when it comes to, it's a fraction of the seizures that are happening overall at both borders. Were you making those points when you're talking about the border? Because the way that you've communicated around it seems to accept the characterization of the U.S., which is not based in fact.
Well, it's not helpful to tell the Americans, well, we've only provided you a supply that would kill 9.5 million Americans. That's not a persuasive argument, and I think we should stop using it. I think we need to understand Canada's problem is different. Canada had a big problem with TD Bank acting as a money launderer. They got a $3 billion fine. We've had our casinos in British Columbia act as money laundering. We have the issue of not actually examining containers when they come in on our ports. We don't examine every car that comes across the border. We have cars being stolen and stuffed with drugs and sent outside of Montreal ports. We've got packages coming across the border through Amazon that go unchecked. So just because we haven't found it, maybe it's because we don't have the processes in place to be able to find it. Maybe that's what the Americans are raising. And now we have an opportunity to address that because our people are dying too. And we shouldn't be complacent about that. We should want to work with them in our own interest to be able to stamp out the cartels as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so a lot to unpackage there. Let's start with one big thing here. This is a premier who knows her facts. You don't hear anything here about dollar for dollar tariffs. You don't hear anything about attacking back. What she's saying is that, listen, Donald Trump has a lot of points being made in terms of what's coming over the border and the problems that we've allowed both ways for the last 10 years roughly, for even maybe even the last 4 in the United States, especially under the woke leadership of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. But now she's saying we need to address these concerns, that by stating that, hey, we don't have as much as you think we do, or there aren't as many problems as you say there are, she's saying, look, a loss is a loss, and we need to start looking at the numbers instead of always trying to find a way to argue back. Now, again, the interview kicks off a little further here, but Danielle, right off the bat, showing she knows her stuff. Vassy's not going to catch her on a 1-2 here. She's not going to catch her sleeping. It only gets better from here, folks. Let's go.
I certainly don't think anyone's advocating for complacency. And I think even in, for the benefit of Canadians, which I think something you and other premiers have said, like there's nothing wrong with addressing the issue. But and I take your point about not saying, well, only X amount of people are dying, but that takes away completely from the factual basis. Like, he wants to punish us in the same way he's punishing Mexico, predicated on some sort of pretext around the border when it doesn't exist in the same way. Why don't you want to make that argument at all?
He wants us to recognize that Canada enjoys a very special relationship with the U.S. that no other country in the world enjoys, and just show the respect of taking seriously the fact that they've got people dying and they want it to stop. That's it. We should stop making excuses, stop saying, yeah, but we're not as bad as the other guys. We should just say, yes, we agree. And we're going to take care of our part of the issue so you don't have to worry about us anymore. So that's all I would say, is that what he's observing is that things are a lot worse than they were last time he was in, that things are going in the wrong direction. We've got to reverse that. So I would say no excuses. Let's just work on that. And then hopefully 30 days from now, we'll have made enough progress that we can move on to some of the other issues.
Why are
So we know that the progress isn't being made. If you watched yesterday's video again, we showed how Justin Trudeau is essentially booking retreats. He's doing more summits to sit down and talk with people about information that really they don't care about. The writing's been on the wall that we know that Justin Trudeau and the Liberals want this trade war. But what we're seeing here is an actual leader, ladies and gentlemen, that wants to solve the problem and backing up her claims with facts that a loss is a loss. If somebody passes from this, when you have open borders, when you have open crime, when you have police that have their hands tied, that can't do their jobs, this is the end result. You go woke, you go broke. Danielle not taking any of the crap Vassy's pushing on her. Let's play the last bit of this clip, and then I'm going to summarize again just how great it was for Danielle to sit down on this interview, telling not just Vassy, but government-paid prostitute media, we're not taking your woke nonsense anymore. We're lacing this with fact. We need to find a way to work together.
are presenting facts, though, excuses? Like the way you're describing it is just accept the way President Trump characterizes things and kind of roll over. I'm not sure Canadians would be comfortable with that.
Well, I'm not comfortable with the fact that over 1,000 people per year die in my province from fentanyl. I'm not comfortable with the fact that cartels are operating in my province. I'm not comfortable with the fact that I'm having to shut down super labs and drug houses. I'm not comfortable with that either. And so I'm not going to downplay the serious tragedy and loss of life in my province because of the Mexican cartels and this poisonous drug that has caused the addiction. So I see it a bit differently, I think, from you, Vassy. I think it's just as serious an issue for me in my province as it is for the Americans in their country, and that we've got to crack down on it, and this is our opportunity.
Look at the look on her face here. Look at Vassy. Oh, straight facts. She doesn't like hearing the truth, ladies and gents. Look, I hate having to censor out the name of the substance, the illegal substance that they're discussing here. But again, censorship is at an all-time high. Videos get demonetized, restricted, pulled down. People say, oh, you can't put it out there. You can't have those words. People don't like words. What Danielle's saying here is that we got to stop getting around being butthurt. We got to stop making excuses, and we have to make the sad realization that none of us like seeing the harsh reality of what open borders and open crime has done to not only our country, but the United States. And that if we're going to tackle it at any point, we need to pull up our big boy pants and do what Donald Trump's done and take off the belt and say, Daddy's home, and start putting some real tough punishments ahead of these people and putting a stop to allowing this to continue in either country. I think what Vassy's done here is tried to push, again, a liberal agenda, because let's be honest, that production company is funded in part by the Liberal government. They get all their handouts from them. Of course, they're going to toe the line and push the narrative. But what Danielle has done here is come back with straight hard facts you can't argue against. That you're basically soulless if you don't agree that this is an ongoing problem. And rather than playing politics, we just got to get our hands dirty and say enough is enough. We got to clean this out. And again, this is what leadership looks like, folks. A lot of people say Danielle Smith should run for prime minister. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I'd be happy if she did that. On the other end of the fence, I just don't want to share her with the rest of you. Pardon my greed, but Danielle has done a bang up job throughout this whole process. So you could say what you want about her line of politics, who you think she's in touch with, or what her prerogatives are, but I don't see any other premier. I don't see any other member of parliament, aside from Pierre, essentially putting forward solutions. While everybody's at the table talking about how do we fight back, these are the only two people saying, let's get a solution. Let's find a solution to this problem, and one that works for not only the government, but for our constituents. I, for one, am grateful for Danielle Smith, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Pierre brings down when he becomes prime minister, hopefully later this year. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let me know if you agree or not. Do you think Danielle completely slapped Vassy around like a redheaded stepchild? Give me your thoughts down below if it's your first time here. I hope this video has earned your subscription. Our subscriber base is building at an alarming rate, so make sure you hit that button, join and jump on the train of the largest fringe majority on the YouTube platform. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, our live streaming show, as we sit down with my beautiful wife, Mrs. Fringe, and go over everything that has happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, as well as some memes and some back and forth within the greatest YouTube community on the platform. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to hearing what you have to say outside of making these videos each and every Friday night. We look forward to hearing what you have to say this Friday night and hope you join us starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.